Hello everybody, welcome to Christ Centered, and today we're going to continue talking a little bit about the concept of Internet Church. It's got several different names, come to find out. I'm going to talk to you today basically about Wikipedia and what it says on the matter. And of course, some people debate over Wikipedia and whether it's reliable or not. I think it's reliable because it actually does reference and cite its references for where it gets its information. So we're going to begin. I'm going to read this to you very quickly, and you can also go to wikipedia.org or just go to google.com, type in the Internet Church, and it will come up on wikipedia.com. So let me read this to you real quick, and if you want to follow along, like I said, you can type it in and look at it yourself. Internet church, or online church or cyber church, refers to a wide variety of ways that a religious group is using the internet to facilitate its religious activities, particularly worship services. As far as the history, in the beginning of the internet, many ministries began posting informational and sermon-like messages to visitors. And through the years, this method of teaching has evolved into the form of video, audio podcasts, and blogs. Many of today's internet churches are descendants of brick and mortar churches, offering members an alternative to the traditional brick and mortar meetings within a church building. These churches even began to utilize the postal service for pastor-member interaction, or use transmissions, sometimes with pre-recorded television broadcast. Modern internet churches provide similar alternatives to their members with a more ubiquitous and often interactive approach. Recent statistics have shown an increasing exodus of young people from churches, especially after they have left home and live on their own. In 2007, Lifeway research determined that 70% of young Protestant adults between the ages of 18 and 22 stop attending church regularly. Internet churches now exist all over the world, however, are still criticized for their lack of human connection. The overview is this. Internet church is a gathering of religious believers facilitated through the use of online video stream, audio stream, and or written messages whose primary purpose is to allow the meeting of a church body of parishioners using the internet. It includes different aspects of Christian community online, especially by those who view this phenomenon as a subset of emerging church, the developing expressions of the faith in relation to cultural change. A cyber church is a ministry that exists primarily as a private website, an interactive space on a public website or social networking site. An internet church describes an institution that teaches and practices its religious beliefs entirely or primarily through online methods. Though there are hundreds of internet churches available online, the term internet church is generally reserved for churches that have a majority of its members meet, connect, or congregate by way or use of the internet, where religious services are conducted through internet technology. The internet churches differ and contrast from the traditional church through the physical media that links pastors, teachers, and believers. Many churches in the United States have their own internet church campus, and many of them have members numbering in the hundreds. Members keep in contact with pastors and ministers and collaborate with other believers through web communication tools provided. In some cases, members communicate by phone with ministers. As internet usage continues to thrive, Christians are using websites, blogs, social networking sites, media services, chat rooms, discussion boards, and other electronic means to provide social connection, education, and enrichment of their faith. Online churches. The word cyber church was used by web developer Tim Badner's paper, We Know More Than Our Pastors, which detailed the blogging movement's influence on the experience of faith. Religious pollster and author George Barna used the term in his book Revolution to describe, quote-unquote, the range of spiritual experiences delivered through the internet. Barna sees cyberchurch as one of the future macro expressions, or large-scale forms of church in the future, one that will soon account for 1/3 of American spirituality together with other revolutionary forms of church. Social networking sites. Christians, like many internet users, are increasingly using social networking sites like MySpace, Xanga, and Facebook. These sites incorporate much of the technology of blogging but forge more concrete connections between users, allowing them to message each other within the system, connect officially as friends, rate and rank each other, etc. These connections may or may not materialize in the real world, but many people now consider online relationships a significant part of their lives, increasing the potential influence of a Christian presence in these environments. Criticism of Christian use of these sites has grown, however, due to prevalence of questionable content and issues of safety. As a result, several Christian alternatives for social networking have been developed. On the other hand, some advocate a missional stance using social networking sites and networking components of their internet mediums like blogging, chat, and instant messaging to proselytize new converts and spread the gospel. There has been some speculation and experimentation with the idea of starting churches within such virtual environments. LifeChurch.tv is attempting to plant a cyber church within the Facebook community using an internet campus technology. Likewise, churches are beginning to appear in the Second Life virtual world where people can attend as avatars and worship together. Many of these churches retain elements that can be found in traditional church-going, such as sermons. However, they also attempt to adapt to the unique social norms of digital media. Users attending these churches are often referred to by their online usernames, and there are sometimes chat sessions before, after, and even during services. Online multimedia, podcasting, streaming audio and video, media downloads, and self-broadcasting websites have made it possible to share the sights and sounds of belief. While religious recordings of different types have certainly existed before, it is the Internet's ability to make these files public for millions of users that has led to the growth and influence of this component of cyber church. Now there are millions of audio sermons, conference and seminar recordings, home videos, documentaries, faith-themed films, and more accessible on the World Wide Web. Tech-savvy bloggers can use multimedia to create audio blogs and video blogs that present experiences, opinions, dialogue, stories, and teachings, creating a more live feel to the blogging experience. Many prominent thinkers, authors, and leaders have blogs that present a podcast or streaming audio speeches, lectures, or sermons. And video sharing sites like YouTube and Google Video allow anyone with a web camera to post video alongside professional religious movie producers and make it available to millions of users. This allows believers to share ideas about faith in new and creative ways. Most of these sites allow people to embed video hosted remotely onto their blog or website, powering video-based communications. Across the internet, Christian-specific sites have also recently sprung up to provide faith-based video sharing services. They also give a list of books and references. You may want to take a good look at this. There's probably looks like about 8 different books listed as a reference that you may want to read or take a look at in the future. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to come back tomorrow, and at that point, I'm going to rule in on my opinion and what I feel about cyber church and internet church, and whether or not this is actually something that is a positive thing or a negative thing, or how can we meet the happy medium. I want to also say that, of course, one of the things that I've looked at is with our ministry is the fact that over the last 2 years in particular, we have really transitioned to a lot of online activities, especially since we moved to Kentucky, because the transition was so extreme, moving from one state to another. It actually was one of the things that kept us going was social media and internet activity. Now, does that necessarily mean that it's an internet church? I wouldn't say so. Now, I am a licensed pastor, and so is my wife, but, of course, we don't have a church in place yet, although we're licensed pastors, looking at church planting and moving forward with church planting in the future. And, of course, our ministry, Operation Reach Out Ministries International, is already established, and whatever churches we plant would fall up under that ministry. But anyway, hopefully this makes sense to you, and I think this is just an interesting topic, and it is something that we need to discuss. And like I said yesterday, feel free to add your discussions, and of course, as you add them, I will discuss them on the show. And so thank you so much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow on Christ Centered. God bless you. Bye-bye.